And Coulter's brand new book is finally out in bookstores today. It's on Amazon.com. It's called Adios, America, the left's plan to turn our country into a third world hellhole. Here she is, author, bestseller, Ann Coulter. You know, I will tell you this, and people that dismiss you are wrong. They don't read your books, because if they did, this is extraordinarily well researched. This is a much bigger issue than the southern border, northern border.
Right.
And you go into great detail. The cost is enormous, and we have two parties that don't want to solve the problem. Otherwise, the fence that works at the White House and in gated communities, as you point out, would be built.
Right. Not only that, there would be a change to the legal immigration. That was the point I was making with you on radio today. This is so much bigger than, other than the first chapter. My book is about legal immigration. The Somalis leaving to fight with ISIS. Those are legal immigrants. The Hmong immigrants raping little girls. Those are legal immigrants. The immigrants going on welfare at rates far above the native rate, committing crimes at what appears to be far above the native rate. The government won't tell us. Never has a country been transformed like this, never in world history, and it is being done as an express plan by the left because they want voters more favorable to liberal policies. It's striking how all of the most avid immigration activists, and there are hundreds, probably thousands of groups just working overtime to bring in the poorest of the poor to live in America. They're always the people who don't particularly like America. They call us racist, sexist, homophobic. Why are they bringing these poor third worlders here? It's because they want to transform America, because they hate America, and Republicans aren't stopping them because the big donors want the cheap labor.
In other words, corporate America. All right. You're saying that this is really important. That we have no scrutiny of the people that we allow into this country.
Right.
And that is as big a problem as the southern border, where somebody wants a job and ISIS has the ability to walk across at will.
Yes, and the shocking part that I found out, which is why this book became this book, I wasn't going to write a book about immigration. I was going to have a few chapters on immigration, and I'd already written 2 chapters for the book I was planning on writing. Then I go to look up, you know, some basic obvious facts that most Americans will be shocked the government refuses to tell us, like how many foreign-born are in our prisons, how many are in state prison, how many are in federal prison, and what crimes are they in for, and what countries do they come from. Oh, no. Read Chapter 7, and you will see it was written through tears of frustration and rage. That was when I called my publisher and said, this is going to be a different book. You can't believe what I'm finding here. The way they hide the information, for example, counting both legal and illegal immigrants in federal prison, only illegal immigrants in state prison. Well, that's where most prisoners are. Mexicans for many years, for most years, are counted as white. But I eventually have to go to the ancillary facts. Of course, they do not count naturalized citizens at all. Well, isn't that worse? I mean, it's one thing for the government to miss criminals who are running across the border. That's bad enough. How about the ones the government looked over and said, you'll make a fine addition to this country, and then, you know, they're blowing up the Boston Marathon. It doesn't occur to Americans that we have any control over this. This is being done to your country. It is government policy. This is not a natural result of the way people would immigrate. First world countries, developed countries, countries where the immigrants do not go on welfare and commit crimes, they are specifically being discriminated against. So we can drag in all of the poorest of the poor to instantly go on welfare. You
will be called racist for this book.
As I say, that's the only argument they have.
All right, but
they prefer not to debate me at all, but if they have to, they'll call me a racist.
Do you really believe that this is a thought-out plan where America as we know it will be forever altered and never be the same?
Oh, absolutely.
Explain what you mean by that.
I just hope we are not already past the tipping point, but I wouldn't have written this book if I thought we were past the tipping point. We need immediate action. We need an absolute immigration moratorium, mostly just to shut these immigration groups down, because as I go through toward the end, coming up with solutions, I mean, you would think you could just pass a law saying, if you're a criminal, you go home, and we will prosecute marriage frauds, and we will prosecute people who lie about needing refugee status. Well,
you know what country does this? Australia.
Well, all of these laws have been passed in the United States. They all get ignored, overturned. The INS says we're not going to do it. A federal judge says we're not going to do it. You have industry capture where the immigration judges come from the exact same anti-American immigration groups. They're running the immigration system. You need an absolute moratorium. You need a fence around the border. You need to end
Gates' work?
Apparently, yes, buckets work too, and wheels work.
Yeah.
That's breaking news. We need to end the insane policy of anchor babies, illegal aliens running across the border or arriving, flying in from China and staying in immigration hotels, giving birth specifically to get American citizenship. By the way, those kids, when they commit crimes and go to prison, they are not counted as immigrants in prison.
Stay right there. We're going to come back. Her new book, Adios, America, The Left's Plan to Turn Our Country into a Third World Hellhole. We'll continue with Ann Coulter, but when we come back, she will go head-to-head with a pro-immigration supporter in what is sure to be a very heated debate. That and much more coming up next. Straight ahead. Welcome back to Hannity and her brand new book, Adios, America, The Left's Plan to Turn Our Country into a Third World Hellhole. Ann Coulter reveals through her research some very shocking statistics about problems this country faces because of illegal immigration. That's right, immigration. Ann Coulter's here with us and here to challenge her on some of the claims in the book. We have immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez. Have you read the book, sir?
I have read bits and pieces. I have not had the pleasure.
Well, it's out today. In fairness to you, I doubt Ann sent you an autographed first edition, but like I got.
I'll take one, though.
You just heard her lay out her case. We have people that come into this country, don't have any real desire to be Americans. We don't have any background or scrutiny. And that's on top of two borders that are wide open that anybody can cross pretty much. It includes drugs, and I've been in drug warehouses and sex slavery and other crimes. And, you know, why do we have this openness? Why would we not control the people that come into this country and vet them first?
Well, I don't disagree with you on that. Why don't we control it? Of course we have to control it. But Mr. Hannity, Ms. Coulter, I'm not ready to throw in the towel on America. America is still the single most powerful country in this world. People are literally dying to come here. What do you mean they don't want to be American? Of course they want to be American. That's where they're leaving their corrupt governments and their unemployment and their disease and their famine to come here because, you know what, here we got the opportunity. Why do we have to be so negative? Statistics, she throws out all these statistics. Listen, I think she's a fine person. Everything I've heard about her personally.
Ann, you want to respond?
Well, sure, but we're using the drugs.
I mean,
we are creating the market. The drugs come because we're buying them.
Well, we could build a fence.
Stop using, they won't come.
Look, the fact that people want to come here, great. You know, I'd like to live in the Coke's mansion. That doesn't mean they have to let me move in.
But we can work to get that mansion.
Hang on.
Americans seem not to understand that we should have some control over this. There are trillions of people who want to move to America. Are we going to take them all? We can't take them all. The boat will. Hey,
they would already be here if they were that easy.
You got to stop mumbling throughout everything I say. It's very irritating. There are trillions of poor people in the world. There shouldn't be an advantage. Why are we discriminating in favor of those who happen to live within walking distance? There are poor people in Bangladesh. They've got cholera. They're suffering. Are we going to take all of them? No, we're going to discriminate against them. In fact, the gate will shut.
No.
Will shut down. Still talking. The gate will shut the moment. Every wealthy person, at least who went to one of the better schools, has a full complement of chefs, nannies, gardeners. As soon as that's done, suddenly the humanitarian crisis of the world will be over. But the point is, an immigration policy, a country's immigration policy, is not an international charity project. Immigration is to make this country and the people in this country, including recent immigrants, better. And if one immigrant commits a crime, that's one too many. If one immigrant goes on welfare, that's one too many. And in fact, they are committing crimes and going on welfare far above the native rate, making America a much worse place to live for everyone.
All right, Francisco?
Undocumented immigrants do not get welfare. They don't even get
that's
preventive
false.
treatment.
That's a lie. That's an absolute
hospitals.
lie. That's an absolute lie. They get all kinds of welfare. In fact, illegal immigrants get more welfare, I'm glad to say, than legal immigrants, which is sort of shocking considering the legal immigrants our government is letting in.
Oh, my goodness.
They will
take
get
a whole
more
show,
welfare when they are citizens.
Take a rate of their unemployment rate. They're all working at jobs you and I won't do. You won't get up on a roof.
There are 93 million Americans out of Francisco.
No,
93 million Americans out of the labor force.
No, the point is they are working at
jobs this summer.
Some of them, yes, are very hard workers, and they are also accessing the welfare system to send half of that money back. Still talking, really annoying when you mumble over everything I say. All this little mumbling in the background.
I'm taking a cue from you.
Yes, they are working, but they also are accessing welfare. So the rich get a fantastic deal. They have the middle class and the working class subsidizing their cheap labor. But not that many people can afford maids, nannies, chauffeurs, chefs, or are running farms and need all this cheap labor. That is costing the American taxpayer. And the idea that you can dump 30, 40, 50 million of the poorest of the poor on America, accepting government assistance, and somehow that is good for the country, is so contrary to common sense that it's not a surprise you are the only pro-mass immigration advocate who would come on with me, and I do compliment you for that.
All right, last word, Francisco, real quick.
Well, listen, I'm for anybody getting a piece of the American pie that's willing to earn it. But are you saying that all of these people that come here are criminals? I mean, are you saying that we ought to raise the minimum wage?
No,
Ms.
obviously
Coulter,
I didn't. We shouldn't have we don't need to raise the minimum wage if we just stop bringing in low-wage workers.
Immigration is dictated by economics. If the jobs
it is
are there,
not dictated by economics. Fox viewers, that is a lie. This is dictated by government policy to help the Democrats and help the rich get cheap labor. This is not economics. It is government policy that can be changed.
We got to end it there. Thank you both.
Both sides need to do it.
Anne's final thoughts. She'll stay with us when we come back.
If you go to the end of the line. Okay. Why don't you go to the end of the line?
Wow. Hillary Clinton giving the brush off to a voter who simply was asking to take a little picture with the presidential candidate. Still with us, Ann Coulter, author of the brand new book, Adios, America, The Left's Plan to Turn Our Country into a Third World Hellhole. What is that? She's the champion of the little people?
I just want to say it's a perfect example of what they're doing to our country. They're waiting for old white people to die off. As you will see from the quotes in my book, the browning of America, big celebration.
You say browning and people say racist. I said to you on my radio
that's
show.
What MSNBC says. They celebrate it every night. Do you watch MSNBC?
No.
Do you read any of the liberal publications? They are, well, they're quoted in my book. They are celebrating, ha, 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 we're browning America. And then Republicans will never win another election, and they're right.
I read that every day. But you're blaming both Republicans and Democrats,
yes.
though. And the Democrats,
yes.
They want a voting base that they think will keep them in power forever, and the Republicans want cheap labor.
Absolutely. And, in fact, the title is a little bit deceptive. We just needed to name somebody, and I couldn't list all the people who are working to turn this country into a third world hellhole.
The Republicans funded executive amnesty.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And, I mean, it's a hard case to win when the entire people carrying the water on this argument are 3 bloggers and sometimes you. I mean, if Matt Drudge ever goes on vacation, that's it. Amnesty's going through when the country is finished.
Yeah, well, I've been down to the border 10 times. I've seen the drug warehouses, the tunnels, and
to go back to Francisco, I do want to compliment him for at least coming on. I want to know where Frank Sherry is, big immigration activist. I will debate him anytime on your show this summer. How about Ali Noor?
They're welcome.
Noorani. They'll go on TV without someone to contest them. And as for welfare, just one point from my book, the 1996 welfare reform bill forbade immigrants from accessing welfare for their first 5 years here. Most Americans said that's not already the law. That was the single biggest savings of that welfare law, and within 5 years it was repealed.
All right. Adios, America, in bookstores everywhere and on Amazon.com. Ann, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all the time we have left this evening.